The skies darkened over Washington, D.C. as the massive ship blocked the sun. It wasn't just Washington. Similar ships appeared over Beijing, Moscow, London, and every major city across the globe. After decades of wondering if we were alone in the universe, humanity had its answer in the most terrifying way possible. Lieutenant Cora Bennett stood frozen at the Pentagon's Situation Room window, watching the alien vessel hover silently above the National Mall. At 32, Cora had risen quickly through military ranks due to her strategic brilliance, but nothing in her training had prepared her for this. "Lieutenant, the Joint Chiefs need you in the command center now," a young officer said, breaking her trance. The command center buzzed with controlled panic. Screens showed identical ships worldwide, while officers spoke rapidly into phones and typed furiously at computers. Admiral Jackson, head of the Joint Chiefs, stood at the center table, his face grim. "Bennett, what are we looking at? Your analysis?" Cora swallowed hard. "Sir, based on their positioning and the simultaneous arrival, this is a show of force. They've targeted seats of government and military installations worldwide. This isn't exploration. It's intimidation." The room fell silent when every screen suddenly changed to show the same image. A tall reptilian creature with scaled skin, vertical pupils, and an elaborate uniform adorned with what appeared to be military insignia. "People of Earth," the alien began in perfect English, its voice deep and slightly mechanical. "I am Grand Commander Vexhal of the Zarkath Imperium. Your planet now falls within our expansion territory. We offer you one opportunity to join our realm peacefully. You have 72 hours to surrender control of your governments and military forces. Resistance is futile and will result in your extinction. We await your answer." The message repeated in languages from around the world before the screens returned to normal. "Well," Admiral Jackson said, breaking the silence, "at least they're direct." 3 hours later, Dr. Alan Murphy arrived at the Pentagon, escorted by security personnel who had pulled him from his university office. A disheveled man with thick glasses and rumpled clothes, he looked out of place among the uniforms. "Dr. Murphy," Cora greeted him. "Thank you for coming so quickly." "Not like I had much choice," he replied, attempting a smile. "So aliens want to conquer us. Tuesday was looking boring anyway." Cora led him to a secure room where recordings of the alien message played on repeat. "We need your expertise. You're the leading expert on communication patterns and linguistic analysis." Murphy studied the recordings intently, making notes and occasionally rewinding specific sections. After an hour, he looked up. "There's something interesting here," he said. "Their language structure, even when speaking English, reveals assumptions. They expect immediate compliance. There's no diplomatic phrasing, no recognition that we might refuse." "What does that tell us?" Cora asked. "They've done this before, and they've never faced real resistance. Look at the phrasing. Join our realm, peacefully. It suggests other civilizations surrendered without fighting." Murphy pointed to specific sections of the transcript. "Moreover, they've made critical errors in understanding human psychology. Their message actually unites us against them rather than creating division." Meanwhile, at Andrews Air Force Base, Major Frank Daniels supervised the loading of experimental weapons onto transport planes. A veteran of 3 wars, Frank's weathered face showed no fear, only determination. "Move faster, people," he barked at his team. "These EMP prototypes need to be at all major bases within 24 hours. A young airman approached him nervously. "Sir, do you think we have a chance? Their technology must be centuries ahead of ours." Frank fixed the young man with a steady gaze. "Son, throughout history, overconfident invaders have learned the hard way. Humans don't surrender easily. We adapt, we survive, and we fight back. Now move those crates." The United Nations convened an emergency session, unlike any in history. For once, old enemies sat side by side with a common purpose. The Secretary General's address was brief. "Today we face the greatest threat in human history. We must set aside our differences and stand united. The alternative is extinction." Debates raged through the night. Some nations argued for immediate surrender, hoping to save lives. Others insisted on resistance at any cost. The split seemed even until the U.S. ambassador rose to speak. "We have new intelligence," she announced, nodding to Cora and Dr. Murphy, who sat in the observer section. "Our experts believe the Zarkath have conquered other worlds through intimidation rather than superior military capability. They expect surrender because they've always received it. They don't understand that humans will fight to our last breath for freedom." She paused, looking around the chamber. "Throughout our bloody history, one thing has remained constant. We never willingly accept chains. We propose not only resistance but a coordinated global defense strategy." By morning, the vote was nearly unanimous. Earth would stand and fight. President Linda Hayes addressed the world from the Oval Office, her voice steady despite the alien ship visible through the window behind her. "My fellow citizens of Earth, today we face a threat beyond anything in our history. The Zarkath Imperium demands our surrender. They expect us to bow before them out of fear." She straightened her shoulders. "They have gravely misunderstood humanity." At the Pentagon, Cora worked with international counterparts to coordinate defense plans. Dr. Murphy continued analyzing alien communications, finding more evidence of their psychological blind spots. Major Frank Daniels trained Special Forces teams in new tactics based on what little they knew of alien technology. When the 72-hour deadline approached, world leaders gathered virtually to deliver Earth's response. President Hayes spoke for humanity. "Grandy, Commander Vexhall, we have received your ultimatum and considered it carefully. Throughout human history, we have faced those who sought to dominate us. Each time we have fought for our freedom." She paused. "We respectfully decline your offer." On the alien command ship, Vexhall received the message with disbelief. In 3 centuries of conquest, no species had ever rejected their terms. The commander turned to his subordinate. "They refuse? Impossible. Prepare the first strike. Target their military installations. They will learn what happens to those who defy the Imperium." Back at the Pentagon, Cora watched the alien ships shift position. "They're moving into attack formation," she reported. "All forces on standby." Dr. Murphy stood beside her, watching the screens. "This is where we learn if my analysis was correct." "And if it wasn't?" Cora asked quietly. Murphy adjusted his glasses nervously. "Then it's been nice knowing you, Lieutenant." The alien ships opened fire on military bases worldwide. The war for Earth had begun. The sky burned red as Zarkath weapons hit military bases across the globe. Their energy beams cut through concrete and steel like they were paper. At first, it seemed humanity had made a terrible mistake by refusing to surrender. Captain Heather Walsh stood on the bridge of the USS Defiant, a submarine hidden deep in the Pacific Ocean. Unlike regular naval vessels, the Defiant was equipped with experimental stealth technology that made it virtually undetectable. The crew watched their screens in silence as reports of devastation came in from around the world. "Captain, we're receiving emergency orders from Admiral Porter," the communications officer said, handing Heather a printed message. She read it quickly, her expression grim. "All stations prepare to execute Operation Shadow. We're going hunting." The Defiant carried another secret. A new sonar system that could potentially map alien ship structures. If they could get close enough to one of the alien vessels without being detected, they might find a weakness. Hundreds of miles away, in a bunker, beneath the Rocky Mountains, Jason Garcia worked frantically with a team of engineers. A civilian contractor with a gift for weapons design, Jason had been flown in by military helicopter just hours before the attack began. "Look at this footage again," he said, pointing to a video of an alien ship firing on a military base. "See? That energy signature. There's a fluctuation every 3 seconds. Dr. Eliza Wright, a physicist working alongside him, leaned closer. "You're right. Their shields seem to cycle. But what good does that do us? The window is too small for any conventional weapon to exploit." Jason smiled for the first time since the invasion began. "Who said anything about conventional weapons?" At the Pentagon's Underground Command Center, Admiral William Porter coordinated what remained of Earth's military forces. The first alien strike had been devastating, but not as complete as the Zarkath had expected. Many hidden bases and mobile units remained operational. They targeted our known installations, Admiral Porter told his staff. They don't understand how we think. They expected to break our will with one massive strike. Lieutenant Cora Bennett studied the attack patterns displayed on the large screen. Sir, they're overconfident. Look at their formation, no rear guards, minimal defensive positioning. They don't expect a counterattack. Then let's give them one they'll remember, Porter replied. Contact all surviving Air Force units. Operation Hornet begins in 2 hours. Aboard the alien command ship, Grand Commander Vexhal received reports of the destruction with satisfaction. Begin landing ground forces in key locations. The humans will surrender before the day ends. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Drez, looked less certain. Sir, our intelligence section reports unusual communication patterns among human military channels. They seem to be coordinating. Impossible. Vexhal dismissed the concern. No species has maintained cohesive military response after our first strike. They are simply in disarray. Beneath the Pacific waves, the USS Defiant silently approached a Zarkath destroyer hovering over what remained of Pearl Harbor. Captain Walsh ordered the new sonar system activated, capturing detailed readings of the alien ship's structure. Look at this, her science officer said with growing excitement. Their hull isn't uniform. There are weak points near what appears to be their engine section. Walsh studied the readings. And their sensor array seems concentrated forward. They can't see directly beneath themselves very well. She turned to her weapons officer. Prepare torpedo tubes 1 and 2. Load the experimental EMP warheads. The Defiant wasn't the only vessel watching the aliens. Around the world, surviving submarines from multiple nations gathered similar data, sharing it through secure underwater communications channels the aliens couldn't detect. In his Rocky Mountain lab, Jason Garcia received this data with growing excitement. This confirms my theory. Look, Eliza, their shields cycle consistently. If we time our strikes precisely... Dr. Wright ran the calculations. It could work, but we'd need perfect coordination across all attacking forces. Leave that to the military, Jason said, reaching for a secure phone. We just need to get this information to Admiral Porter. Operation Hornet began exactly 2 hours after Porter's order. Across the globe, surviving aircraft took off from hidden runways and highway strips. Instead of attacking in large formations that would be easily detected, single planes approached from multiple directions, appearing and disappearing quickly. Their goal wasn't to destroy the alien ships, an impossible task with current weapons, but to test defenses, gather data, and distract the Zarkath while the submarines moved into position. The aliens responded with confusion. Their weapon systems were designed for large-scale warfare, not tracking hundreds of small, fast-moving targets attacking briefly and then retreating. What is the meaning of this? Vexhal demanded, as reports of small attacks came in from his fleet. These are not proper military tactics. Humans appear to be fighting differently than our previous conquests, Drez reported uneasily. They're adapting. It makes no difference, Vexhal said. No primitive species can stand against the might of the Imperium. Deploy more ships to crush these annoyances. This was exactly what Admiral Porter had anticipated. As the aliens spread, their forces thinner to chase Earth's aircraft, they left themselves vulnerable in key locations. All submarine units execute Phase 2, Porter ordered via secure channels. In the waters near Hawaii, Captain Walsh received the command. Target locked. Enemy ship's shield cycle identified. Firing torpedoes in 3, 2, 1. The specially modified torpedoes shot silently toward the Zarkath destroyer. Timed precisely to hit when the alien shield cycled, they detonated not with conventional explosions, but with powerful electromagnetic pulses specifically calibrated to the frequencies Jason Garcia had identified. The effect was immediate. The massive alien ship faltered, its lights flickering. Similar attacks happened simultaneously around the world as Earth's hidden submarine fleet struck in perfect coordination. One Zarkath destroyer over the Pacific began to lose altitude, its systems failing. Unable to maintain flight, the massive ship crashed into the ocean with tremendous force. In the Pentagon Command Center, a cheer went up as confirmation of the first downed alien ship came through. It worked, Cora said in disbelief. We actually brought one down. Admiral Porter allowed himself a small smile. One down. Many more to go, but we've learned something crucial today. What's that, sir? A young officer asked. They're not invincible, Porter replied, watching as teams were already being dispatched to recover pieces of the downed ship. And now we'll have their technology to study. In orbit, Commander Vexhall received news of the destroyed destroyer with shock that quickly turned to rage. Impossible. How could primitive weapons affect our ships? Dres spoke carefully. Sir, I believe we have underestimated these humans. Gather our forces, Vexhall ordered. We will crush their remaining military with overwhelming force. No more measured approach. They have earned the full might of the Imperium. As night fell over a battle-scarred Earth, humanity had suffered terrible losses, but for the first time there was hope. The aliens could be hurt, they could be beaten, and most importantly, they could be surprised. Dawn broke over a changed world. Smoke rose from cities and military bases. The Zarkath ships moved in new formations, more cautious after losing one of their destroyers. They no longer hovered low over cities, instead keeping higher altitudes that made them harder to reach. In an underground laboratory beneath what remained of Johns Hopkins University, Dr. Nicole Reyes worked quickly. The biologist had been studying tissue samples recovered from a dead Zarkath soldier found in the wreckage of their downed ship. Her hands moved steadily despite having been awake for nearly 48 hours. Look at this reaction, she said to her assistant. Their cellular structure breaks down when exposed to common bacteria in our environment. She placed a small sample of alien tissue in a petri dish and added a drop of solution. Under the microscope, the cells began to dissolve rapidly. Their immune systems haven't adapted to Earth's microorganisms, she explained. They're vulnerable to infections that wouldn't harm humans at all. She reached for a secure phone to report her findings. This could be another weapon in humanity's growing arsenal. Miles away, in a makeshift server farm hidden in an abandoned mine shaft, Kyle Harrison typed furiously at his keyboard. Once a hacker who had served time for breaking into government systems, Kyle now led a team of programmers working to penetrate alien communications. I've got something, he announced to the room of exhausted tech experts. Their encryption changes, but there's a pattern to it. His fingers flew across the keyboard, executing code he had written through sleepless nights. On the main screen, alien symbols began to appear. We're in their network, he said with quiet disbelief. We can see their communications. Maybe even send false orders. One of his team members, Alicia, leaned forward. Can they detect us? Kyle shook his head. Not if we're careful. They don't expect us to understand their technology. That's their biggest mistake. They think we're primitive. At the Pentagon's new command center, relocated after the original building was damaged, General Sharon Patel reviewed reports from resistance cells forming around the world. Unlike conventional military units, these cells operated in small groups, striking quickly and disappearing before the aliens could respond. The Jakarta group disabled an alien ground patrol yesterday, an aide reported. London reports successful sabotage of alien landing zones. Resistance in Moscow has prevented the aliens from establishing a permanent base there. General Patel nodded with grim satisfaction. And our special equipment deliveries? Dr. Garcia's shield-penetrating munitions are being distributed worldwide via submarine transport. Dr. Reyes's biological agents will be weaponized within 48 hours. Good, Patel said. Now show me the latest intelligence on their command structure. The aide displayed images of various Zarkath officers captured by resistance fighters' cameras. We believe this one is their overall commander. He pointed to an especially tall alien with elaborate armor and facial markings. Based on the deference shown by others, intelligence suggests this is Supreme War Master Drakvor. Patel studied the image carefully. He's taking direct control of ground operations. They're getting desperate. In orbit above Earth, Supreme War Master Drakvor indeed felt growing frustration. He had traveled from the Imperial core worlds to personally oversee what should have been a routine conquest. These humans refused to follow any predictable pattern of warfare, he growled to his officers. They scatter rather than mass their forces. They attack and retreat instead of holding ground. Perhaps we should simply destroy their cities from orbit, suggested one officer. Break their will completely. Drakvor shook his head. The Emperor wants this world intact. Its resources are valuable. No, I will lead our forces personally. We will crush their resistance the old way, with soldiers, on the ground. The War Master's flagship descended through Earth's atmosphere surrounded by escort vessels. Their destination? The Rocky Mountains, where intelligence suggested a major human command center was hidden. What the Zarkath didn't know was that this intelligence had been planted by Kyle Harrison's team, who had succeeded in feeding false information through the alien network. The mountains held a human facility, but it wasn't their main command center. It was a trap. As the alien ships approached the mountains, they were met with unusually light resistance. This confirmed Drakvor's belief that the humans were finally running out of resources and morale. His flagship landed on a plateau, and he personally led a full battalion of elite soldiers toward the human facility's entrance. Inside the mountain complex, Colonel Eduardo Rodriguez checked his weapons one last time. A veteran of countless special operations missions, he now commanded a multinational team of the best soldiers Earth had to offer. Everyone clear on the mission? He asked the assembled warriors. Capture the alien commander alive, replied Sergeant Olivia Wong. Use Dr. Reyes's biological agents to weaken their forces. Hold position until extraction. Rodriguez nodded. Remember, we only get one shot at this. Make it count. As the aliens entered the facility, they encountered light resistance that slowly pulled them deeper inside. Drakvor, eager to claim victory, pressed forward with his elite guards while sending the main force to secure the perimeter. This was exactly what the humans had planned. Lisa Winters, a civilian mountain guide who had joined the resistance, led a small team through hidden tunnels that ran parallel to the main corridors. This mountain has been a tourist attraction for decades, she explained to the soldiers following her. I know every hidden passage. They emerged behind the alien forces, effectively cutting off Drakvor from his main battalion. Meanwhile, in the facility's ventilation system, Sergeant Peter Collins, a combat engineer, activated specially designed devices that began pumping Dr. Reyes's biological agents into the air. The effect on the alien soldiers was almost immediate. Many began coughing and struggling to breathe as Earth bacteria attacked their respiratory systems. Their advance slowed, then stopped completely as more fell ill. Drakvor, protected by his advanced personal armor, pressed forward with his remaining guards. They burst into what appeared to be a command center, only to find it empty except for a single screen showing a countdown timer reaching 0. Non-lethal stun charges detonated throughout the chamber, temporarily disabling the alien guard's armor systems. Rodriguez's team swarmed in from hidden compartments in the walls and ceiling. The fighting was brief, but intense. When it ended, Supreme War Master Drakvor stood alone, surrounded by human soldiers, his guards unconscious or captured. You have violated all rules of honorable combat, the alien commander snarled. Colonel Rodriguez approached calmly, weapon trained on the alien. No, we've simply used our strengths against your weaknesses, something you never considered possible. For the first time in his long military career, Drakvor knew the taste of defeat. As he was secured for transport, the alien commander realized a terrible truth. He had completely underestimated these humans, and now the entire Zarkath invasion force would pay the price. Outside the facility, human forces emerged from hiding places throughout the mountains, overwhelming the confused and leaderless alien battalion. The tide of the war had just turned dramatically in Earth's favor. News of Drakvor's capture spread quickly through both human and alien forces. For the Zarkath, it was unthinkable. No Supreme War Master had ever been captured in the long history of their conquests. For humans, it brought a surge of hope that changed the entire feeling of the war. Colonel Rodriguez supervised the secure transport of their alien prisoner to a facility deep under the Atlantic Ocean. This base, built into the seafloor years ago as a doomsday shelter, now served as humanity's most secure location. The prisoner is secured, sir, Sergeant Wong reported after they locked Drakvor in a specially designed cell. The room's air was filled with the precise mix of bacteria that weakened the alien without causing permanent harm. "Good work," Rodriguez said. "Now we begin the next phase." Dr. Alan Murphy, the linguist who had first analyzed the aliens' communication patterns, entered the room. He looked tired but determined. "I've studied their language extensively," he told Rodriguez. "I believe I can communicate with him directly now." The two men approached the cell where the Supreme War Master sat in silent rage. When Murphy spoke, in the harsh clicking language of the Zarketh, the alien's eyes widened in surprise. "Your primitive species cannot properly speak the Imperial tongue," Drakfor responded in English. "We learn quickly," Murphy replied with a slight smile. "That's something your empire failed to understand about humans." For the next 12 hours, Murphy led the interrogation while Rodriguez observed. At first, Drakfor refused to share any information. But as time passed, Murphy's questions revealed something unexpected. The alien began to show grudging respect for his captors. "How many worlds has the Zarkath Imperium conquered?" Murphy asked. 37 star systems bow to the Emperor," Drakfor replied proudly. "And how many fought back as Earth has?" The alien was silent for a long moment. "None. Most surrendered immediately upon our arrival. A few attempted brief resistance but quickly saw the futility." Murphy leaned forward. "Why do you think we're different?" Drakfor studied the human carefully. "Your species is unpredictable. You fight even when logic suggests you cannot win. It is not rational." "It's called hope," Murphy explained. "And it's more powerful than any weapon." Meanwhile, in cities and countryside areas worldwide, the war continued. With their commander captured, the Zarkath forces fell into disarray. Their rigid command structure, which had served them well during countless easy conquests, now became a weakness. Without clear leadership, different alien units began acting independently, often working against each other. Human resistance grew, stronger each day. Kyle Harrison's team continued feeding false information into alien networks, sending ships and troops to wrong locations. Dr. Reyes's biological agents were now deployed in darts and aerosol weapons, making alien troops sick without harming humans. In Diwer, the Pentagon's new command center, Admiral Porter and General Patel planned their most ambitious operation yet. "The aliens are vulnerable," Porter told assembled military leaders from around the world. "Their ships are scattered, their troops confused. It's time for a coordinated global offensive." General Patel pointed to a map showing alien positions. "We've identified 23 key targets, command ships, supply depots, and communication centers. If we strike them simultaneously, we can cripple their remaining forces." "Can we pull this off?" asked a Chinese general. "Our resources are stretched thin. We have two advantages they never expected us to have," Porter replied. "First, we now understand their technology thanks to captured equipment. Second, we have their commander." Back at the underwater base, Murphy made a breakthrough with Drakfor. After days of conversation, the alien revealed critical information about Zarkath communication protocols. "Each ship commander must verify orders through a specific authentication pattern," he explained, seemingly unconcerned that this information could hurt his forces. "Without this pattern, subordinates will not obey." "And you know this pattern?" Rodriguez asked. "I am Supreme War Master," Drakfor replied with alien pride. "All authentication flows through me." Murphy glanced at Rodriguez. Both men understood the importance of this revelation. With the right approach, they might use Drakfor to send orders to the alien fleet. Lisa Winters, the mountain guide who had helped capture Drakfor, now worked with tech specialists to turn this information into a practical advantage. Her knowledge of human nature proved valuable in understanding how to manipulate the aliens. "If their culture is as rigid and rank-conscious as it seems," she suggested, "then lower-ranking officers won't question orders from Drakfor, even if those orders seem strange." Kyle Harrison nodded in agreement. "We can use their discipline against them, create confusion, separate their forces, maybe even get some to leave Earth entirely." The plan came together quickly. Using captured communication equipment and Drakvor's authentication patterns, they prepared false orders for the alien fleet. Some ships would be commanded to move to distant areas, others to power down for security scans, and still others to return to space. Will Drak-4 cooperate? General Patel asked during the final planning session. No, Rodriguez answered frankly. But we don't need him to. We have recordings of his voice and Murphy can speak their language well enough to create the necessary messages. As preparations for the global counterattack neared completion, something unexpected happened. Drak-4 requested to speak with human leaders. President Margaret Russell joined the conversation remotely. I'm told you wish to speak with me, she said to the alien commander. Your species has proven unusually resourceful, Drak-4 said, slowly. In all our conquests, we have never encountered such resistance. We fight for our home, Russell replied simply. So I have observed. The alien straightened to his full height. I wish to propose terms. This was met with surprise. Murphy asked in the Zarkath language, The Supreme War Master offers surrender? Not. Surrender, Drak-4 corrected sharply. A strategic reassessment. The terms he offered were clear. The Zarkath would withdraw from Earth if Drak-4 was released, along with all captured alien soldiers. Earth would be marked as unsuitable for integration in Imperial records. President Russell listened carefully but didn't answer immediately. Instead, she conferred with military leaders. Can we trust him? She asked Porter and Patel. I wouldn't, Porter replied. But it doesn't matter. Our counteroffensive is ready. We strike in 12 hours whether he cooperates or not. Russell nodded and turned back to address Drak-4. We appreciate your offer, but we have terms of our own. Unconditional withdrawal of all Zarkath forces from Earth space, return of any humans you've taken, and a formal recognition of Earth's independence. The alien commander's face showed an emotion that Murphy interpreted as shocked disbelief. You are not in a position to make demands, Drak-4 said. Russell's expression remained firm. I think we are. Your forces are in disarray. Your tactics have failed against us, and now, we're no longer just defending, we're taking the fight to you. As the conversation ended, preparations for humanity's counterattack continued. Across the globe, military and civilian resistance units moved into position. Weapons reverse-engineered from alien technology were distributed to key strike teams. The turning point of the war was about to begin, and for the first time humans had the upper hand. The day of humanity's coordinated counterattack dawned clear across most of the globe. In the hours before sunrise, Special Forces teams moved silently into position near alien installations. Pilots prepared in hidden airfields, their aircraft, now equipped with weapons built using reverse-engineered alien technology. Submarines surfaced briefly to launch modified drones that would serve as distractions. In the command center, President Margaret Russell addressed military leaders from around the world via secure video link. Today, we show the Zarkath that humanity will never surrender, she said. Each of you knows your targets and objectives, remember? We fight not just for our countries, but for our entire species. Admiral Porter stood at her side, checking his watch. Operation Final Stand begins in 30 minutes. All units confirm readiness. As confirmations came in from forces worldwide, Kyle Harrison and his team activated their most sophisticated cyber attack yet. Using the authentication codes extracted from studying Drak-4's communications, they sent a series of conflicting orders to alien ships and ground forces. They're responding, Kyle reported, watching his screen fill with alien communication signals. Ships are changing positions just as we hoped. At the underwater base, Dr. Alan Murphy continued his conversations with Drak-4. The alien commander had become less hostile over time, even curious about human culture and history. Your victory today is not certain, Drak-4 told Murphy. My forces still outnumber yours. Numbers aren't everything, Murphy replied. You've learned that lesson repeatedly since arriving here. A subtle change came over the alien's face. The Emperor will send more ships if we fail. This is merely the first wave. Murphy nodded. We suspected as much, but the next wave will find a prepared Earth, not a surprised one. At exactly 0600 hours global coordinated time, humanity launched its attack. Unlike the aliens' straightforward assaults, this was a complex operation with multiple phases. First, Harrison's false commands scattered the alien fleet, creating gaps in their defense network. Next, submarines around the world launched specially designed missiles at the lower hulls of alien ships, their least protected area, as Captain Walsh's sonar mapping had discovered. In the skies, aircraft appeared from hidden bases, striking quickly with weapons designed by Jason Garcia that could penetrate alien shields during their brief cycling periods. On the ground, resistance fighters attacked alien patrols using Dr. Reyes's biological weapons that left the invaders gasping for breath. At the Pentagon, reports of success began flowing in. London reports 3 alien vessels disabled, an officer announced. Beijing confirms their targets destroyed, said another. Rio de Janeiro, success. Moscow, success. New Delhi, success. General Patel allowed herself a brief smile. Phase 1 complete. Begin Phase 2. The second phase targeted alien ground forces. With their air support crippled and communications in chaos thanks to Harrison's team, alien soldiers found themselves surrounded by enemies they had previously dismissed as primitive. Colonel Rodriguez led one such attack near the ruins of Washington, D.C. His forces struck from underground tunnels, disabling alien weapons before the enemies could respond. Move in, secure the prisoners, Rodriguez ordered as alien soldiers dropped their weapons in surrender. Remember minimum force, we need them alive. Across the planet, similar scenes played out. The Zarkath, accustomed to easy victories, had no experience with defeat. Without clear leadership, many units surrendered rather than fight to the death. In DOI orbit, the remaining alien command ships faced a choice: retreat or be destroyed. Kyle Harrison's team made sure they received vivid video feeds of their defeated forces on the ground. President Russell addressed the alien fleet directly, with Dr. Murphy translating into the Zarkath language. Your invasion has failed, she stated simply. You have 2 options: withdraw immediately from Earth space, or face complete destruction. We have already transmitted evidence of your defeat to your homeworld. Your emperor knows the truth. This last part was a bluff. They had no way to contact the distant Zarkath Empire. But the aliens didn't know that. Hours passed as the alien ships conferred among themselves. Finally, their acting commander responded. We will withdraw to report this unexpected development to the Emperor. Admiral Porter watched the tactical display as alien ships began moving away from Earth. Keep all weapons locked on them until they're past the moon, he ordered. I don't trust them not to try one last strike. But the aliens continued their retreat. By nightfall, the last Zarkath ship had left Earth orbit. In the underwater base, President Russell personally visited Trakvor. The alien commander had watched feeds of the battle with an expression Murphy interpreted as amazement. Your promised withdrawal is happening, Russell told him. Once the last ship is gone, you will be transported to a neutral location in space, where your people can retrieve you. Trakvor studied her carefully. You could keep me as a hostage against future attacks. That's not how humans operate, she replied. We defended our home. We won't start another conflict. The alien was silent for a moment. You are unlike any species we have encountered. The Emperor will not understand how his forces were defeated, by beings he considered primitive. Then explain it to him, Russell suggested. Tell him that technological advancement isn't the only measure of a civilization's strength. Tell him that humans value freedom enough to die for it, and to kill for it if necessary. 3 days later, Trakvor was released to a small Zarkath ship that approached Earth under a flag of truce. Before departing, he spoke one last time with Dr. Murphy. Your world will be marked in our charts, the alien said. Not as conquered territory, but as something we have never recorded before. A world that successfully resisted the Imperium. What will your Emperor do? Murphy asked. I cannot predict, but I will recommend strongly against further attempts to conquer Earth. The cost would be too high. As the alien transport disappeared into space, humanity began the long process of rebuilding. Cities lay in ruins, millions had died, but the planet remained free. 1 month after the withdrawal, world leaders gathered in the partially rebuilt United Nations headquarters in New York. President Russell addressed representatives from every nation. "The war changed us," she said. "For the first time in history, humanity fought not as separate countries but as a single species. We must not lose this unity now that the immediate threat is gone." She gestured to images showing alien technology being adapted for peaceful uses. "We have gained knowledge that might have taken us centuries to discover on our own. More importantly, we have proven that Earth belongs to its people, and always will." In the audience, Admiral Porter leaned toward Colonel Rodriguez. "You know they'll be back someday, right? If not the Tsar Kath, then someone else." Rodriguez nodded. "Yes, but next time we'll be ready from the start." As the speech ended to thunderous applause, Porter gazed upward, thinking of the stars beyond the ceiling. "They expected Earth to surrender," he said quietly. "They were dead wrong, and so will be anyone else who tries."